Hi guys, welcome to Spinach and Yoga YouTube channel. And today I have a very special guest. We're going to be talking with intuitive healer Robin. Robin, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi, you guys. I'm Robin Lee, and I am based out of San Diego. I'm a medical intuitive and have been in practice for over 20 years. My job is to help people be able to connect to their bodies and understand the body-mind connection in a more practical way and be able to empower you guys as much as possible to be able to support your healing process. My website's www.intuitionheals.com. And you can pretty much find everything about me there, and blogs that I write, newsletters I keep, everything's pretty much on my website.
Cool. So this whole idea, you mentioned that there's a practical aspect to a mind-body connection, which seems a little bit difficult to comprehend to a lot of people. And even though the idea of mind-body connection and the influence of our thoughts and emotions on the body becomes more accepted, from the early childhood, we're taught that this is not the case, that the responsibility for our health is in the hands of usually a doctor or another person. So how do we get enough confidence to start trusting ourselves?
Well, I think the first step in being able to have confidence in our trusting ourselves is to understand that our job is to be able to relate to the body, and that our body is separate from who we are. We are a spirit that sits inside of the body. And the more we remember that there is a connection and that we are separate, we can relate to our body just like you and I are speaking right now. It's being able to learn to understand the dialogue and communication of the body, and being able to trust that comes in time and patience and consistent effort, for sure.
So what I heard is that you're saying that it's a matter of creating a dialogue between your spirit and your body.
Most definitely. It is a matter of creating a dialogue between you, your personality, me, my personality, and my body. So if I wake up in the morning and I just get up and don't think about connecting to my body, it's a very different experience to take a minute, take a big deep breath, and ask myself, ask my body, what can I do to support you today?
I love it. I think it's really cool. So if we translate it into a practical action, in the morning when I wake up, I would think, okay, body, what would you like to have for breakfast, versus thinking, what does the nutritional theory say that I should have for breakfast?
Exactly. And being able to listen, that's the hardest thing. People will come to me from all over the world and ask me to teach them how to listen to their bodies. And the biggest issue is understanding two things. It's going to take time and consistency. And just like you don't expect a 2-year-old to have the intellect and dialogue and communication ability that you and I happen to have at our age from practice and experience, being able to understand that we're limited at this point because we don't have the practice in being able to hear our bodies. So a lot of times people will ask a question like, body, what's the best thing for me to have for breakfast? You would think you're not going to hear an answer, but I promise if you stop and you take a breath and listen, the answer will definitely come to you. It's just taking that space, just pausing for a minute or two and being willing to listen instead of thinking we know everything and thinking we know what's best for us. Our body has an opinion of its own, and the more we honor that, the more connected we naturally become.
Yeah, and Robin, I so agree with you, and I had so many interesting experiences with that myself. When I ask my body, for example, when I feel irritated or I feel that I can't get the project done, and I ask my body, and it's like, well, I want to go outside and play. I want to be in nature. And so sometimes our body tells us to do stuff that is not on our to-do list, not on our logical perception of what we should be doing. So sometimes the body might say that instead of working out 6 times a week doing high intensity interval training, it might be asking for stretching. So it's how do we step over that fear that listening to the body is going to create bad consequences, that it's not just our laziness or our old beliefs talking.
Through anything that you would do with fear is by experience. So challenging that. If the body says do stretching instead of weightlifting, don't just do it unconsciously. Say, okay, I'll try that. I'll acknowledge that. I'll honor that. And then allowing yourself to be able to pay attention to physically and emotionally how you feel after. So being able to honor yourself and pay attention to your experience so it doesn't just become another thing on the to-do list. The idea of mind-body connection is you pay attention to how you feel. And that's a big disconnect a lot of people have. A lot of people will come to me and they're wanting to do the right thing, and they seem to disconnect again, realizing what your body's asking you to do, try it out, see how it feels, and if it feels expand, you know, and the more that you allow yourself to practice that, the more confident you're going to become. But just like anything that you're afraid of, try it. It's not going to hurt you. And once you establish that trust through consistency, you're going to be able to be a lot more confident and be able to move forward much easier.
So it's a lot of it is like doing an experiment.
Definitely. And looking at the fear of what are you afraid of happening, nothing can happen to you. Nothing bad.
Yeah. So I'm sure some people would be thinking now to themselves that if I ask my body and do what it tells me to do, I'll end up eating cookies and donuts and sitting on the couch the whole day. Have you ever had that something happening with some of your clients?
That is something almost everybody asks me that I work with. And it happens. And the body will say, I want cookies. And the idea at that, most of us, if you're connected enough to be listening to this, that means you're wanting to learn more about mind-body connection. And you've probably done some kind of work or research on nutrition. You've lived a lot of life, so probably know some foods that are good for you and healthy for you and some foods that probably aren't consistently great for you. So when your body says, I want cookies, most of us know, there's not a lot of nutrition there to support the body. So if the body says, I want cookies, ask another question. Find curiosity behind it. Oh, okay, you want cookies. Is there anything else going on that you'd like to talk about? Is there anything else you need? And just kind of ask for more insight and more input, because, again, if you ask the body a question, it will respond. Most people ask a question. First of all, most people don't even ask questions. Then you reach a point where you start asking questions, and then people forget to listen. And then we have the next stage of listening to the answers of those questions, and then ask more questions. Don't stop with one. Learn more. So if the body says, I want cookies, ask, is there anything else that you could use right now? Is there anything else you want right now? Typically, cookies have to do with emotions. Junk food typically has to do with emotions. Sometimes it could mean that your body is deficient in proper carbohydrates and it needs energy, physical energy. So by asking questions, and always take a big deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, just slow and deep, it gives the body the space to be able to answer productively. When you remember to breathe, your mind does not answer, your body actually answers. So your body's not lying to you when it says it wants cookies. There's something in it probably needs. So I would ask, what is it by eating that I would receive? And the body would naturally say energy, happiness, peace, rest, whatever it's looking for. And then I would ask, is there anything else that I could do that might be more physically supportive for me in this moment? And then an answer would come.
Yeah. And I also feel like a lot of people are so ungrounded and they're always in the head, moving, that they're craving that heaviness and sweets to kind of create that heaviness and grounding that they might be missing. So it kind of forces them to rest when they can't give themselves that time to rest.
Sure.
So it's really cool. And another question that I feel comes up quite a bit, and even with myself I feel that it comes up sometimes, is once you find that body wisdom, once you trust that your body knows what it needs the most, a lot of us still end up acting against that body wisdom. And I feel like that creates a little bit of a distrust between ourselves and our body. How do you create a trustworthy relationship that's based more on the, okay, I heard what you said, and now I'm actually going to implement that?
If you're not going to be willing to listen to the answers, it's better you don't ask the question, for sure. Because it's just like if you and I are spending time together and I asked you what you wanted for dinner, and you said to me you wanted a salad with chicken, let's say. And I looked at you and said, okay, well, let's go get Italian food. You eventually wouldn't see the point in talking to me. And oftentimes, that's when you mentioned childhood at the beginning of our conversation. Oftentimes, as children, we express what we want, and we're not honored. We're not nourished for being able to pay attention to those unique needs that we have because our parents don't have the time. They don't take the space, basically, is what ends up happening. So we build these habits and patterns up in relationship to ourselves that we oftentimes were taught as children ourselves. So by being able to ask questions, we want to make sure we listen for the answers. And if the body says something like, I need to exercise every day, you can ask another question that says, wow, okay, thank you for that information. Now my schedule's really busy. I'm not exercising at all. So where is the best place to start? Mm-hmm. And be able to communicate with the body. We're very used to being told what to do and also telling other people what to do. Communication is a very weak link when it comes to society, also our relationships, obviously, and also to the experience that we have with our own body. So the more that we remember to listen for answers, ask more questions, and just fine-tune it until we know we can do something that the body's wanting, the trust will establish actually quite quickly because the body's waiting, very much waiting just to connect. People will call me up on the phone and their bodies just talk. And I've never seen them before. They're all over the world. And they're like, how do you know so much about me and what's going on in my body? It's like your body's been waiting for years for somebody to listen. So when you're committing to taking that hour to listen to the body's definitely going to get a nice level of communication in, for sure.
Yeah, I love it that we don't have to stop at asking one question, that it can actually be a longer dialogue, and you can always find a compromise.
Definitely. And reminding yourself, too, that every book that's out on the market, you can go to Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, hundreds of books on nutrition, on health ideas, on healthy diets. Just remember, every single book has been written from somebody's experience, from scientific evidence, from certain paths and processes. It doesn't mean that it's good for you. It might work for a short period of time. And that's the thing. It's just another experience, and you're unique. There's nobody else on the planet exactly like you.
And that's why so with you on this one.
Experience, to be able to learn, to pay attention, and to communicate and to understand yourself really is what we're talking about doing.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are so scared to recognize that they're unique and that their body is unique because they feel like it leaves them kind of on their own. There's no prescription. Nobody's telling you what to do, and you have to figure it out. And it's actually not that scary. It's actually fun. It could be fun.
Definitely.
So thank you for sharing your tips. I feel like it's super helpful, and what you're doing is amazing. Encouraging people to listen to their body and create the dialogue is kind of evolutionary.
Well, it's so easy. That's the one thing, just to take a minute. It is so incredibly easy to be able to connect in. It's just looking at where can we slow down, where can we create more quality in what we're doing instead of constantly trying to do more. How do we slow down and make more of what we're already doing? Because as we learn to do that, there's a stillness that happens inside of us. And in that stillness is where the body and the spirit obviously communicate. And again, just ask a lot of questions. And when I'm in a session working with people, it's so specific. If people want it to be specific, you can find out everything about your system. Just remember to breathe, because when you breathe, it tells the mind to step back and it tells the body to step forward. If you ask a question without breathing, your mind will communicate to you. Mm-hmm. So that's not the body. So a lot of people say, how do you know the difference? have you breathe. If you've taken a breath, you know that you're on the right track. Take another breath, go back in. Some people can't hear right away. And that's because their body's been maybe traumatized. They haven't learned to trust. They've maybe asked questions for a long time and haven't followed through, so the body feels betrayed. And it might take a little time to reestablish that. So just be patient and just know that that experience is there. Just like when you walk into your kitchen and you're looking around at everything in a cabinet, you know where you've placed everything. You should know your body that well, and you have the ability to do that. I love Western medicine. I think Western medicine is amazing, and I love the ability we have to be able to hold hands with Western medicine and help integrate it to that body-mind connection, because we're so much more wise than we realize. So it's really, really such a blessing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Do you want to share the website one more time?
www.intuitionheals.com.
Okay, guys, and I'm going to put it underneath the video so you can find Robin and read some of her wonderful articles. And if you like our interview and want to learn more, comment with your questions, and I'll get in touch with Robin and ask her the questions again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.